So welcome back. And by God, I should say, my next guest has also been on with me before. I have with me Jim Dunning, and he is the CEO of QPC Services. Welcome back to the show. And I would like you to tell everybody a little bit about yourself and what you do.
Thanks very much. I'm glad to be back. Had so much fun the first time I couldn't stay away, I guess. Jim Dunning with QPC Services, and I've been doing this for 15 years. We own a small consulting company that focuses on FDA-regulated industry.
Let me go ahead and put that right in front of you so everyone can hear you.
Okay, is this better?
Yes.
All right.
Okay, go ahead.
And 15 years in the business of consulting, owning the consulting firm. We focus with FDA-regulated companies. We're a full-service quality and regulatory consulting firm, and our areas of focus are in getting new product to market, regulatory applications, and building and fixing quality management systems, and in doing risk management integration.
Now, the last time you were on, we talked a little bit about this, and people need to listen up, especially anybody out there that has a product that they're getting out. And if somebody was to get a warning letter, right, what that really means and how you can help them with that.
Yeah, thanks. So this is a subject that we don't like to talk about, people
Nobody
in business
wants those.
doesn't want to hang around and think about, well, what if we had a warning letter? And I just recently been doing a lot of education around this because I think people can, or companies, can, especially smaller ones, can get themselves in a lot more trouble than they already are, mostly in around how they respond to that warning letter. And I thought it was also a good subject because I'm an expert on the FDA rules and regulation and enforcement actions, but even if you're a company that has some other regulatory body, like the radio station has the FCC and other things, and they may not call it a warning letter, but they have all kinds of letters of,
let me tell you,
you're messing up
we
here.
know exactly what we can't do.
Yeah.
Because it costs a lot of money when somebody does something that
Right.
could be wrong.
Right. And so in the FDA case, when you get a warning letter, they're looking for your response. It's really a formal letter of, this is our first kind of mild enforcement act, maybe second enforcement act. But now we're looking for you to really tell us why we want this company to keep that product that's out there that patients are getting or consumers are getting, and that it's safe and effective. So it's a big deal to respond to this thing, and you don't have a long time to respond to it, Carol. You get this, and you have to consume it, digest it pretty quickly because you have 10 working days to respond to the FDA.
Wow, that's pretty fast. I mean, considering sometimes people put their head in the sand with the taxes for years.
Yeah.
So you really have to get up to snuff.
You really have to get up to snuff, and there's a lot of common mistakes that go on. So typically these warning letters, when we get them, first off, they're written to the head of the company, the CEO at the top of the person in the company. So it's very personal to that individual from the FDA, in my view. And they tell you that you're breaking the law. Something has happened and that you're breaking the law. There's usually two sources that it would bring this to you. One is the FDA has been out to your facility and has performed an FDA inspection, routine or otherwise. And you responded, you might have gotten some what they call 483 observations, some things from that. And the company responded, and the FDA took offense, I guess, at the response. They didn't feel that it was adequately addressing what they had identified when they were there at your firm. And so now you get this warning letter. The other path is from advertising. You can get a warning letter from your advertising. This is big in the area of supplements. Supplements get this more than any other sector out there. And it's all around, typically around claims. So if you claim something that your supplement product does, and the FDA thinks that, that's not a supplement, it's a drug. That's typically the issue you have there. Or you're making claims that you can't substantiate. So that's another way to get it. Those are the only two that I know of. I'm sure there's something else.
How do they find? They must have scouts, looking for these things. There's a lot of people that put ads out or talk on the radio about things or whatever, that they have a lot of people. What size companies are we talking about here? Because, there's a lot of people that do that. So could they get themselves in trouble without even knowing it?
Oh, yeah, absolutely, especially the smaller companies. I focus on small to medium-sized companies, and the smaller companies are really my love. That's what I wired my company for. We built that to serve them. But I have experience working with the largest companies on the block in the FDA-regulated space. But it can be any of you. And so you ask about how do they do it? Yeah, sometimes it can be. The FDA does have a division that looks at websites and advertising them, and they look at websites as labeling. So anything that goes with your product tells about what it can do and what its uses are, who should be using it. All of that is our labeling, and then there are claims about what it will do. And it's a very uneven enforcement. I see things in my work every day that could be, a company is exposed to getting a warning letter, but they haven't. Why they haven't, I don't know. Why the FDA, for example, hasn't come by their site. Even the same in on-site inspections. The FDA should do it every 2 years. By law, they're supposed to. They haven't made that since I've been in the business.
That's funny.
But things can happen. Somebody complains about something, or product gets recalled for a reason, and the old adage, when it rains, it pours. Sometimes that'll raise you onto what we call the radar, and they'll come out and see you. So those are the two paths to getting a warning letter, and they're saying you've done something wrong. You're either making false claims, or you're not making your product in a safe and effective way.
So what's a good response? How do you know that you're going to make a good response? It would probably be seen that they would call you to help them make that good response.
Well, we hope they do, and that's one of the benefits for me to get out here and let people know about this, because actually, when you receive a warning letter, you're going through the 5 stages of grief, right? I mean,
that's a great way of putting that.
Yeah,
you've got to get it, and you're in shock.
And you only have these 10 days to respond. And you
don't know this, but if you just think you could type it out and send it back, it's not as easy as you think.
Yeah, it's not. And a lot of companies where they get in trouble, they have maybe a good writer in the organization, somebody that did well in English composition or something, and it's about writing a story. Or we hire lawyers and pay an awful lot of money for them to write your letter. And lawyers have a good application in here. I mean, there's great ways to use them, but that's not it. That's not the value add for what you're doing. And really what you're doing from a quality and regulatory point of view is you're trying to communicate to the FDA that I got your message. I understand that, even if you don't believe it. I understand that, and I've done some things. One, I contained it. So I've done something immediately that's stopped. That allows me to say I can continue to sell my products if that's the case, right?
While we're fixing
this problem, because that's what the FDA wants to know if they're your audience. Why should I let this company go on? Why should we not elevate this? So that's the first question I ask, especially small company owners. How come you haven't recalled everything you've ever made? And they're really not pleased to hear that, but that's what you have to exercise first. Why is it, honestly, with good evidence, why we don't do that? So that containment is something in the letter.
Now, we're going to go to a break, and when we come back, we're going to talk further about this. It's super, super interesting. You help small to medium size. You can do large too, but your niche is a small to medium size, and you want to help people who get these letters that don't know how to write them, because you shouldn't have to hire a lawyer to do it. And that's where you come in, and you do free consultations with everyone. Your phone number is toll-free 877-335-1702. Can you help anyone from anywhere?
Yes.
Okay, that's another thing to ask, because there's a lot of people from all over that listen. So anybody out there that has some kind of a product that you're thinking that it's okay and you find out it's not from the FDA, he can help. His number is toll-free 877-335-1702. We're going to be back in just a minute.
Thank you very much.
Did you like that so far?
That was good.
Way different than the first time, huh?
Mhm.
Because you're just talking with passion. We're talking with Jim Dunning, and he is the CEO of QPC Services, does free consultation. He has 15 years of consulting under your belt that you've been helping people. We were talking at the break, and I was asking you, because, when you listen to this, everybody's going, those are big companies, those, we think that, and I asked you, you said your niche was small to medium-sized companies. So I said, well, what's the smallest size company that you've worked with, and what did you say?
One.
Wow, and that's really scary because, and I'm just thinking, one of the things that you said while you were on air for your first break was that there's a lot of people out there that will advertise their product, and everybody advertise. They might come on here and talk about it. Something that someone has created something, and they come out and they say something that it does, and little do you know, but the FDA has scouts. Who would know that? And you get some kind of a letter. So this one company, let's say the one-person companies that you work with, what type of products are you like? Could it be something where they've created a supplement or they've created a cream? Does it matter?
No, it doesn't. It doesn't matter. We have, we have areas we focus in the most, but because, for example, medical devices are just so many. There's so many different things that would fall into that category. We focus on some within there, but we've done creams, we've done products that are actually you wouldn't think are medical devices that are solution type things. So it's not always intuitive or makes sense that what you have is a medical device. So we've had people, small companies, say, we were selling this device and we didn't know it was a device, and so we're either in trouble by the FDA or we know that we're going to be if we go on. What do we do? So a lot of times, and we deal with people in preparation too for products. So dentists that are coming up with a product, or docs that are coming in with a product.
There's a lot of people out there that come up with these products, and not necessarily what, like you said, supplements. They might have something like that. You said the cream. But I also know of a lot of people that are coming up with these new products to lose weight. They're devices to help you do all these things. So there's a lot of people out there that might need your services, without even realizing it.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
And you do webinars, but you're here to try to educate the people out there that are listening that maybe it's you, maybe it's someone that you know. This is something that you pass on. It's not necessarily for everyone, and we know that, but there's certainly a lot of listeners and a lot of people out there that are these companies that do this, and he does free consultations with everyone. Your website is qpcservices.com. And the phone number is toll-free because he can't help anyone from anywhere. And that's another thing I wanted to mention again really quickly, because we have a lot of listeners from all over. And there's people out there all over making things, all these devices that you don't know may need regulated correctly. So it's 877-335-1702. So we talked a little bit about how you can help them make a good response. I'm not sure if you wanted to go into more on that, so because we went to a break.
Yeah, I mean, it's fine. So I wanted to point out, I think I did point out in the first part about, containing the problem and communicating that. And this response is not necessarily just a persuasive thing that says, like us, look, we know the right words to say, or I'm going to tap dance around something. It's driving, our products are safe and effective. We're committed, committed to fixing these problems. And the FDA, we're going to invite you to we're going to communicate with you. You're our partner.
We're going to make it right.
Right? We're going to make it right. We're going to keep you informed. We're going to be doing these things. We haven't overcommitted. That's a big pitfall. Companies will say, I'm going to do all of these things in the next 30 days. And there's just no way they can do it. And the agencies, remember, they're dealing with these warning letters all the time, so they know, the FDA knows how long it's going to take you to really fix a problem. So if you say I'm going to build Rome in a day, they're gonna suspect that and probably take other actions sooner, come out or get follow-up action.
The main thing that you need to know is it's 10 days. You have 10 days to answer, which could be quite fast for someone who, this is something that you have to do correctly. So, he does consultations with people. Give him a call. You don't have to hire an attorney necessarily. You're a lot less money than that, right?
Yeah, well, we're much more value in terms of this first of the response and how you're going to plan your actual, what they call it, remediations, the big $5 word, but fixing the problems. And we can do that for you as well. So this first part is, how do you respond and what's your plan going to be and how do you keep that FDA and how do you keep any further actions from coming initially with your plan. Then running the plan, whether you want to do that all on your own and fix those problems. A lot of companies aren't in that mode either. They don't really know how you can do a fix to a quality system problem that's going to keep you well into the future. So when the FDA does come out and inspect you and you're going to get a good outcome on your inspection.
What about firing your regulatory or quality manager? Is that like the best? I'll just fire him and it'll go away, right?
Yeah, well, it's probably the single worst response, in my opinion. I mean, you may find that you do fire that person, but it's
because it's always somebody else's fault.
Yeah, it's always somebody else's fault, and it's part of this being in the stages of denial and disbelief, and you think, well, I hired this person to take care of my regulatory problems, and they didn't. Well, guess what? If you're a head of the company or if you're an executive management on it, you own that responsibility to be running the company. So the FDA would look at your firing of a person as, if you said that's corrective action, they would look at you as uninformed. I mean, it would be, if that was the case that you had a change,
then you weren't even doing your job.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you did make the change, then you could say, I made the change, but you're not putting that blame or that.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
It's, especially if you put yourself in, if you're the head of the company, if you're the owner or your executive management with it, you're saying, I understand, and we're doing these things.
It's all in how you word it.
Yeah, it's really
important in how you word it.
That's really different. But for the FDA to say, oh, well, good, they fired that person, that won't be too well received typically.
Now, what are the 5 stages of grief when it comes to this?
Well, mostly here we're dealing in the first 3, just because we don't have time to get to the end, right? You usually don't have time to.
You only have 10 days.
10 days for the response, so you don't have time to go through the full stage. So you're usually in that denial and anger and maybe bargaining. So a lot of times in these responses, it's sort of from a bargaining point of view. If I say this, will they let me go? And it's really the wrong frame of mind to be in. So what we do when we work with customers that have this, with our clients, we say, look, just suspend it. We're going to operate like you believe it, even if you don't. I can't change your heart, but we're going to change how you're thinking about it for the moment now, your mindset as much as we can, and we're going to get a good response in here and help you do a plan that you can do and get you clear thinking about that response.
He works with small to medium-sized businesses. He can do larges too. He does that too, but mostly that's his niche. And on your website, you also do webinars for people. You're all about educating. The website is qpcservices.com. He has 15 years of consulting underneath his belt. His toll-free number is 877-335-1702, and he'll do a free consultation with you to talk about how he can help. We only have a couple of minutes, so you don't need a lawyer. Do you need a PR person?
Yeah, so you may need a PR person because this is all public. You may want to bring in your lawyer too, but you want to do them at the right time. I don't like to bring the lawyer in and have them write your letter and add it and spend. I've seen law firms and I love them. I work with them and they're great. But gee whiz, that can knock you out of business. You want to know what your response is, and then if you have, when it's at that late stage and you're there, you can get a legal review of that if you wish.
Is the best time to call you for someone who has gotten the letter? Obviously, that's the first, they get that letter first. They don't get a phone call first or something?
No.
No, it's just a letter.
Right.
They get you right away, and you got 10 days to respond. When is the best time? When somebody is creating their product or when they get the letter?
Yeah, so the best thing is prevention, obviously. We can help you prevent it, but most of the warning letters are preventable, either by managing your labeling and your claims and what you're doing on your websites or how you're running your company.
He can do a free consultation for you or someone that you know. Tell him about it. It's 877-335-1702. His website is QPCservices.com. And don't get that. If you get that warning letter, you got to call him. He can help you word it. It's all about the wording. And if you're working on something, it's preventing you from getting one in the first place. Again, it's 877-335-1702. It's QPCservices.com.